So I had some people ask me to continue in the vein of the encouragement videos, given the time period we're in. Now, regardless if September comes and goes, because like I said, I try to make a balance in that because I know other prophets that have seen a lot further, and people like Randy Kay that was in heaven, he saw great revivals breaking out, and that God told him he has around 7 to 10 years, something like that. And we'll see. Like I said, I've never seen this many confirmations. But anyway, back to the encouragement, in my testimony on touching the afterlife, and for anybody that's going to see this video 30 days before September, 30 days after September, if it happens, or a year or two from now, I go through the G-rated parts of my testimony. And usually those that contact me, I'll go through the X-rated parts, because most of you contact me and are so full of shame and guilt for whatever nasty pornography you've been looking at, or some kind of sexual act that you did 10 years ago, or something like that. When I first started my backslide, I had a friend come to me, and he's a very prophetic friend. He's had many out-of-body experiences, visions, trances, everything like that. He came to me and he said Jesus appeared to him and had 3 different visions of me, that I would be delivered. And then at the last part of the vision, he said, there is hope, there is hope, there is hope. Now, I didn't understand. I knew my friend was an accurate I knew that he had the vision, but my doubt would say, well, maybe he didn't hear that, because I had gotten out of a cult. I was so full of unbelief. I had been doing all kinds of dirty things. Just keep it to your imagination. And I didn't hold on to that vision. And what I did is I kept backsliding even worse. And I'm trying to illustrate that he was with me the whole time, because there was other people that would come to me and say that, like my friend Deborah, she said that, she saw a vision of me going into a storm. And I talk about in my testimony at the very end, that I had a dream where tornadoes were chasing me, and they lifted me up into the heavens, or they sucked me up, and then I came out on top of a mountain, which was all peace, is where I'm at now in my spirit. And other people have come to me and told me that when they fell away, they had tornado dreams. And other saints have told me they've had these wild tornado dreams. And I believe the tornado is him. He is the storm. But that's my own interpretation. But during that process, I was going on the dark web. This is why I know about Bitcoin, because I was doing Bitcoin in like 2015, 2017. And I was ordering DMT, LSD, all these drugs to my house. I was stealing from my parents. I was, defiling myself with all kinds of porn, because I had given up. I thought that I was lost. I was in a ministry that was cursing me. I fell away. And it was the same ministry. I learned all the things I did by casting out devils and seeing all that. But because I had seen all those miracles and done all those things, and I fell away, I thought I was finished. Because most of you that contact me use Hebrews 6. Hebrews 6 is a step-by-step progression, meaning you have to have tasted of the heavenly gift, be filled with the Spirit, walking in miracles. And even then, he's going to send you chastisements. But some of you haven't even got to that point yet. So you don't need to worry about it. You're still babies. And Satan comes and does the same lies that he did in my mind, that, oh, because you did this and this, and you looked at this dirty pornography, and you were stealing, and he'll bring up all of these different accusations against your mind. You could be walking with him for a month or two, and be, like I said, you can be helping the old lady across the street. You could be going to church. He's still going to bring up things you did months ago. He's going to try to bring up things you did years ago. Okay. I'm just here to give you a stronger walk to understand that if he did it for me, he'll do it for you. So the woman would see me going into a storm, and I still backslid, and I still just kept taking drugs every day. And even then I would cry out to him. I always tell people one of my number one prayers was I asked him to change my perception of him. Because a lot of you that have been abused growing up, or you had bad parents, you're projecting your views of them onto God. And I often recommend people like JoJo's testimony, the Mennonite that was taken to heaven and God was nothing like what he thought, or Gabe Perot, I think his name Pirot. And some of these testimonies to show you how good and righteous and kind that he is. He's not anything like what you expect. And I found this to be true too, because just during my backslide, I would keep rebelling, and I was helpless. Like I said, when you sin to that point, you die inside. You can die twice. I'm sorry to tell you that. Once saved, always saved, people. But he came down in a vision, and he pulled up the tree and replanted it. He can restore you. And that's why you guys need to keep coming to him, because, I thought that I was dead. There was no hope for me whatsoever, like completely gone. And if he didn't bring me out of it, and he was trying to the whole time, I would be talking to people, and while I was talking to him, someone would have an open, wide awake vision about me, and I would still deny it because I was so full of doubt and unbelief. And then, like I said, over time, I begin to lose my mind, because if you keep sinning, what you're going to notice is that you're going to become depressed, full of anxiety. Some of you are going to go into psychosis because you will try to stop the voices in your head, so you'll keep drinking and doing drugs and self-medicating. And I'm not against medication. Some of you that come to me, I believe you need to be put on medication for a little while until you can get some proper deliverance or whatever. But, as that process, it gets worse and worse. That's why I tell you guys that are in the wilderness right now, stop touching the hot stove. Do everything you can not to go back, because most of you will stay where you're at because of the fact that even though you're in despair and you're trying, it becomes so heavy on your mind. And like I said, you could be doing okay for a couple of days, but then you start waking up in fear, or the thought of going to hell, or you guys are watching all these hell videos, and then the devil will come right in with your vice of choice. And he'll whisper to you, oh, well, you might as well just give in to that porn because you're already screwed. Then you do, and you fall back into the same pattern, and you stay there for months and months at a time. I was in it for like 5 years, because I was a tough nut to crack. I needed to have a lot burned out of me while I was in the wilderness. But, it produced the peaceable fruits of righteousness. I don't look at porn anymore. I don't masturbate anymore. I walk in perfect peace on a daily basis. Now, I have struggles, and there's certain things in my life that I still, where the devil will attack me, and I might have a bad day, or I might have anxiety for 4 or 5 hours, but I'm not living in it. And it takes time. So I want to encourage you guys out there that are struggling with this to not give up, And I do voice text and messages and counseling with people sometimes because they just need to replay my messages. Some people have told me, I hear your voice in my head. I was like, well, that's a scary thought. But he's really looking at the fact that you're trying. He wants to see some contrition and some effort. You don't have to grovel at his feet every 5 seconds. That's not faith either. You lay it before him. You present I tell people, act like you're in a courtroom. Just be like, God, I'm trying to do this. Here, I'm going to hold up my tithe. I believe in tithing. Sorry if you guys don't. I believe in you can do what you can do and work on the things you can't, but do all the things you can. I always say, be a good husband, be a good father to your child, help the poor. You can help the poor. For those of you that are in the Torah movement and you're convicted, I don't eat pork, but I'm just saying, if you're in that, don't eat pork. It's very easy to do. Do the things that your conscience is easily, that you can accomplish, then work on the other things. Vaping, put a patch on and try to put the vape down, maybe hit it once or twice in the afternoon and then stop, and then gradually just keep coming to him and say, God, I need help with this. Because some addictions just don't go away. There's people get deliverance, addictions don't go away. Sometimes he delivers all at once, but I'm saying he's really looking at the actions of your heart and what you're trying to do versus your complete perfection in everything. That's why I said you got to do a triage. You got to take it one step at a time. And some of you, the devil's just going to keep relenting and relive every bad thing you've done. And because of that, you start to feel unworthy. And because you feel unworthy and condemned, and you compare yourself to other Christians, and you'll just go right back to the sin, and it starts all over again. You have to learn through testimonies like mine and other people's that he sees you as loved. He loves you as a good father. He's not condemning you. Okay, there's a balance here. Like I said, if you keep going off, and this is why when you do shipwreck your faith and you sin so much that your conscience goes from like a bright light to nothing and you're in darkness, that you've lost your faith. You can, but I'm saying as long as you keep a repentant heart and you keep coming to him, that won't happen. And he will eventually get you through. And like I said, it doesn't matter. If you're left behind, you have no other choice. If it happens in September, you have no other choice. Like I said, if you're not worshiping these beings, you're in his book still. Don't give up hope. But you've got to realize and come to a conclusion that it's you that keep doing these things. It's not him that puts your hand on that stove. It's not you. It's not him that makes you pull your pants down for 30 minutes. It's not him that has you drinking and getting completely drunk out of your mind. That's you. And when you do that, it sears your conscience, and then you don't feel God, and then you don't feel peace and joy. And then a lot of you, what Satan will do is whisper into your ear that it's his fault. And then he can start getting you to blame him and get angry at him. And as you get more angry at him, you keep hitting the bottle more. You understand what I'm saying? You have to come to a place of surrender that he's going to do with you what he wants, whether you go to hell or not. You have to be like Job. Though he yet slay me, I will still worship him. That's a place I had to come to. It took me a while because I was under several delusions because I lost my mind for a little bit. And if you guys don't stop the willful sin, you're going to lose yours too. It's one of his judgments. And even that is his kindness to bring you back into the fold, to get you back to a sound mind with peace and joy, to restore the joy of your salvation. Okay? But when you listen to lying teachers, this is why I don't like once saved, always saved people, because they might mean well and they might not be openly advocating sin, but the doctrine does. So this is how people get in the snag. They think, oh, well, I'm just going to lose rewards, so I'm going to give over to that fleshly lust and those demons whispering to me, and I'm going to go commit that sin. And then you feel conviction, then you do it again. And so you try to ease your conscience. Well, God loves me forever no matter what I do. And so that's an attitude and a heart posture, first of all. If you have that attitude and heart posture, then you still got some more. A lot of people that have that heart posture aren't saved. They have not encountered him or the fear of the Lord or a lot of other things that, and I'm not the one to judge that. But if your heart is still inclined to want to do evil and think you're getting away with it and you can just lose rewards, I doubt that you're saved. I'm sorry. There's a lot of false converts. But if you're trying, if you're struggling, and like I said, you can have demons, you could have been molested as a kid. There's a lot of factors that God, I think, is going to look at on his report card. I think that the kid that was molested as a kid who's hypersexual and he went and jumped into all this lust and then he gets saved and, he's only been in it a year or two, he's still struggling. I think there's a lot of grace for you. I call it the prodigal's pen, daddy's playpen. He's up there, he's giving you your bottle, he's changing your diapers. He's okay as long as you're trying to do better. But if you start having a willful, wicked heart and your sin is becoming an idol in your life and you just let it happen, and that's why I tell you, the ones that are struggling, don't lay down. And the devil's going to tell you that you did it once, so you can do it 3 and 4 times and just go ahead and binge on it for a week and get it out of your system. Don't do that. That doesn't help. And like I said, through all of that, I would keep following and he was still there. And like I tell him my testimony at the very end, he had a key coming through a door. And then my friend woke up. And like I said, I had dreams and warning dreams and stuff. He does that too. He'll give you dreams of hell. And that doesn't always mean you're going to hell. That just means that he is trying to warn you to stop doing what you're doing. But at the very end, my friend had an open vision of him standing at a door. And then my friend the day before, they don't know each other, had a vision of a hand coming through a key. So like I said, he was there through the whole process. And even though I gave up at times and my faith failed, his faith remained. And just because that is true does not mean that once saved, always saved is true. If I would have kept staying in that, like I said, he had a dream where he lowered me into a volcano. I could feel the fire on my feet when I woke up. So he's very long suffering and patient. And I'm just here to be the cheerleader and to help you and encourage you along the path, so that when you're in sin, you can go, well, man, Steve did this and that, and he was still with Steve, so he's with me. He's right there. You might not feel him. You might not think he's there, but I assure you that he's there. So stay encouraged, stay the course, rather you're left behind, rather nothing happens in September, rather the rapture happens in September. No matter what, you have to stay the course. You got no other choice. Most of you that are truly saved, you're sold out already. You're not mental assent believers, meaning if you've been falling away for 5 years, you're still trying. That means that seed's still in you. The ones that are gone, the ones that went through that and are living in some iniquity right now, most of those people weren't saved, or they had the seed snatched. Okay? So keep going. Keep crying out to him. And like I said, fast, man. If I'd have known about fasting a lot, sooner in my walk, I'd have been a lot better off, because fasting rewires the brain, especially for addiction. It actually changes the psychology of the brain and gives you new neurons. So you can deny drinking liquor all day. You can deny masturbation and food if you can stay on a consistent fasting. All right. So I recommend 2 and 3 day fast at a time, because that breaks the yolks of a lot of things. And then another thing is, some of you, if you're trying to get right the next 30 days, I recommend restitution. Is there anything that you've stolen and done wrong from people that you haven't paid back, or at least tried to make right? Is there anything in your walk, in your idols, in your heart? Do you love your husband more than you love Yah? Do you love your kids more than you love Yah? Examine yourself and go before his courts and his throne and bring it all to him. And even if you can't forgive somebody, say, I forgive this person. I forgive the pastor that I was a part of the ministry. If I saw him today, I'd hug him. I still want to shake him and say, how are you so blind that you have destroyed so many people's lives, even though you've done a lot of good? But I don't have any ill will towards him. And I did for a while. And the people that fell away from the faith from that ministry are bitter and angry today. Even the people that speak out against him, because he's a very well-known minister, you can tell when you have a lot of bitterness. And a lot of people are not going to enter the kingdom before unforgiveness. But if you keep coming to him and say, Father, I need help with this. Please help me forgive this guy. I know that you forgave me. Stuff like that. Keep working your salvation out with fear and trembling. And don't give up and don't stop. And like I said, I'm here for you if you need to contact me. Rather nothing happens in September. rather I'm left behind because God's given certain visitations that I might be here, and he's going to leave behind a lot of saints, and he has safe zones and Goshens being built right now for 20 years. I've been a part of 2 of them. I'll be here as long as this phone's on. And people that contact me always say, well, I don't want to bother. You're not bothering me. Listen, I have a very fortunate situation in my life. I have nothing but time. But I can't do the work for you. You're going to have to do the work.